Welcome back, guys. Unknown 003 here, coming at you with our final Killer Instinct character tutorial. And this time, and for the last time, it's going to be Eagle, the last character to be introduced to Killer Instinct 2013. He is a zoner and rushdown hybrid, which you typically don't see a lot in fighting games because you either have one or the other. But he has a combination of both, which makes him very dangerous. But at the same time, his pronounced weaknesses are mainly that he doesn't have like a good reversal, and his defensive stuff isn't really like that good, unfortunately. Like even with some anti-airs, you got to be able to predict the anti-airs proper. But aside from that, he is incredibly good with rushdown and also with zoning. And yeah, as you can see with the bird up here, he can also call in an assist as well, which is incredibly good. But we'll get into that in just a second. So first off, let's go into his normals. All of his punches, his heavy punches, shoot the arrow in some way. So for example, if you do crouching heavy punch, just shoots low. And if you do back heavy punch, has an arcing shot, almost full screen. It practically is actually. And yeah, the standard heavy punch also is full screen as well. You can choose to actually charge it by holding the heavy punch. It does slightly more damage. And you could also do it in the air too. Like you could choose to hold it, jump in the air, bam, like go to town. So yeah, that's like the main gist of his heavy punches, which is basically different areas where he could shoot his bow. But anyways, yeah, like in terms of his regular other normals, they're a little weak, admittedly. The heavy kick is also pretty good with damage, but his back medium punch is one of his anti-air stuff that he can do, and crouching back medium punch causes a stagger, and you can immediately follow it up with a special move and just go to town. So kind of things like that. But yeah, that's basically the gist of his normals, except for forward medium punch. Just a simple 2-hit attack, 7%, not bad, right? But again, like if someone does have meter and that comes out, it does unfortunately make it very easy to shadow counter off of it. So just be mindful of how you use it. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of it with his normals. So let's go ahead and get into his special moves. So first off, you got the standard down forward punch. All he does is simply just shoots his arrows. The amount of arrows that comes out of the bow really depends on the strength of the button. So light will shoot out 2, medium will shoot out 3, and heavy will shoot out 4. So if they try vertical jumping, yeah, that's going to be impossible to avoid, especially from full screen if you just keep spamming it. But again, you are limited on the arrows that you have, so you got to be careful with how you use it. So yeah, that's the gist of it for the for this one. The heavy version, or like the ender of it, is going to be the damage ender. So if you want to cash out as much damage as possible in a combo, this is the one to do. So pretty decent damage, right? Like he's not the most damaging character, but he is like probably the average damage. And yeah, like with the shadow version of it, the good thing to note is that if you use the shadow version of like the bow, it will not use any of your arrows, and the same thing will apply with your ender as well, which is also really cool. So think of it basically as like if you see it come out as purple, that means that it's not going to be taken off your reserves. So yeah, that's the basic gist of his down forward punch. His down back punch is going to be like an arcing arrow shot. The strength, or like the distance and the amount of them, obviously, of course, depends on the strength of your button. So the light is going to shoot out 2 and is going to be relatively close. The medium is going to shoot out 3, and it does like the medium distance, and the heavy does full screen. Yeah, so, but again, it shoots out 4, depending on if you have enough for them. And as for the shadow version, it's going to be tracking, basically. So it's also really good to know. Even from like far back, they're gonna track where the opponent currently is, and then just land straight to where the opponent is, which is also really cool. So, just like the down forward punch, it doesn't have a linker. This is more of a knockdown ender. And yeah, that's the basic gist of it. Although you cannot combo off of the shadow version. Just keep that in mind, as you can see. So you could use it as kind of a setup when you do like a hard knockdown, for example, or the damage ender. Immediately start like this, and then you want to just continue your zoning. That is also something really important to know, is that if you do decide to use the shadow version of like the down forward punch, for example, it'll launch them back, which will give you the ability to kind of continue your zoning prowess. So yeah, it's gonna be really annoying for like the rushdown people to kind of close in on you, because you have like many different options to just go to town. So yeah, that's basically it for down back punch. So down forward punch is going to be his slide. Not really amazing in terms of like the light one, because it doesn't go, doesn't really cover that much distance. Heavy version is probably your average distance. But again, so yeah, it is a low. So that is something that you could potentially do with this, for example. Follow it up. Linker looks like this. And the heavy version looks like that, which is, of course, wall splat ender. And as for the shadow version, pretty much your standard, you know, like your 5-hit linker shadow version, which is really good. So yeah, there's not really too much to talk about in terms of that one. That one's probably the most straightforward of them all. But his last special move is going to be his down back kick. So the strength of the button really depends on the kind of arc that you get while you lunge yourself up in the air. Heavy version obviously goes the furthest, and you can actually follow it up. Otherwise, you can use it as more of like a cross-up thing. So yeah, what you could do is, if you follow it up with a kick, with a light kick, for example, it's kind of like a flip out, sort of. Let me show you. Yeah, so basically a flip out. The medium version is going to just be a simple kick and just yeet them into the floor. Not really too much to go with that one. And obviously lunges you back if you do connect it. The heavy version is going to be a ground bounce. And you can choose to follow it up with this, for example, which is also pretty good, especially if you're trying to catch out the damage, for example. But yeah. It's really cool, like the things that you can do with it. Like, I don't use a lot of Eagle myself, so it's oh, I wish that worked. Hold on, I'm determined to try to make it work now. Yeah, see, there you go. It's really good for cashing out the damage, as you can see. But yeah, that's the basic gist of it. But as for the heavy version, or the shadow version, it doesn't look like it did anything special, right? Well, this is actually really good for bringing back your arrows. So you use them up, you're completely out of them, or even if you're like, if you need arrows on you immediately, and you do have Shadow Meter, you can choose to press down back all 3 kicks. And there you go. You bring them directly in front of you, and all you have to do is just simply walk on top of them, and then you pick them up. But it is also really good to know, as you probably noticed, is that if you do have some arrows that are directly behind the opponent, or like somewhere behind the opponent, and you do it, it actually does slightly damage the opponent as well, if they're not blocking. So that's also one of the other traits that are also pretty useful to know, especially if they're like low in health, for example, and just go to town. You know, because they would be in stun state for a moment. But yeah, that's like something really good to know. And as for the heavy version of it, the Ender, it's simply an exchange Ender. And yeah, that's what the linker looks like, which is pretty neat. So yeah, now we'll get into his little bird. So there are several things that the bird can actually do. If you see it glow it up, like glowing up like that, that means it's ready to use. So there are some things that you could do. So for example, the first one, which is kind of the standard one, if you simply tap all 3 kicks, it's gonna retrieve 4 of the arrows for you and immediately just drop it off to you, which is really cool to do. And once again, if the arrows are like right below the opponent, it will slightly damage them as well. The back, all 3 kicks, this is where this it doesn't do like really much damage, just 1%, but it stuns the opponent, and you can do follow-ups. You can choose to do a low, you could do a mix-up, and just go to town. So it allows you to just ponder your next move and just try to mix up the opponent any way you can. The forward one, forward all 3 kicks, is going to simply just peck at the opponent for time. And it does take like a little bit of time for the bird to recharge, as you can see. And as for the down, all 3 kicks, this one actually got nerfed to where it takes a lot of time for it to recharge. So definitely try not to use this one like constantly, because for one, you're probably going to use it maybe 5 times during a match if the opponent is being aggressive. It takes, yeah, like, here, it's like what, 5 or 6 seconds? And then like an additional 3 seconds for it to completely recharge. But yeah, also the last thing that you can also do with it when it is, if it's charged and you're in the air, you could actually press forward all 3 kicks to get this slight boost up in the air, so you could do cross-up options. And one other thing that's also really good to know is that if you do the down back kick, you could also mix it up like that too. So you could do this, or you could do this. Like, it's incredible, like, with the amount of like creativity that you could actually do with the character. But again, for me personally, I haven't put a lot of time into him. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of like his special moves, which are really important to know, especially if you want to maintain like the cross-up options, his offensive playstyle, and his zoning playstyle. Like, he's really good with both. But again, like honestly, the main detriment in it to his playstyle is just that he's not incredible with defense. Because if you don't have meter to like shadow counter, you got to be very careful on how you approach it, because you don't really have a good reversal. So you just got to be mindful with that. But yeah, that is basically the gist of all of his special moves. And as for his last thing, which is going to be his instinct, so the bird is going to automatically do like just a peck attack if you press on normal. So this is, although not technically one of the worst instincts in the game, it does kind of maintain the pressure on the opponent where they would be forced to block essentially. And even if you do this, for example, like, it doesn't really cover that much distance, unfortunately. Like, you gotta be relatively close for it to be effective. But yeah, that is honestly the gist of his instinct. There isn't really much to it, aside from the fact that the bird is gonna be more consistent in helping you out. So if you are looking for like an assist type character that's gonna have something else in his arsenal as well as his own like stuff as well, I do recommend trying Eagle, but I'm not gonna lie when I say that he is also one of the more difficult characters to use because there is a lot that you have to learn with this playstyle. So I would argue he's one of the hardest to really be good at, you know, alongside Conra, for example. But yeah, that is basically the gist of Eagle, guys. I know that it is definitely a lot to take in for this, but yeah, like hopefully, again, this was easy to understand. I honestly had a lot of fun doing these tutorials with all these characters, and for it to come to a close is a little bittersweet, but hey man, it also helped me kind of like learn more of what the characters do as well, because I never really personally put a lot of time into them. But hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I definitely enjoy doing this series. I may potentially do something like this with either Mortal Kombat 1 and or Tekken 8 when that comes out. But in the meantime, this is going to be it for now, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Fight on, everyone.
Wako imimwa kiswit. He tusks.
Supreme victory!